Kia ora koutou. Welcome to another edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast with me, Macca, and me good mate, Mahona. Well, mate, traffic light system's nearly there. You're nearly allowed out.
Green for go. Green for go. Let me out for Christmas. It's not fair. Let me out of Auckland. Nearly, mate. Nearly, mate. We're nearly up to 90%, aren't we?
Nearly out of prison.
Yeah. It's a strange old world we're living in, mate, but nearly 100 days in lockdown. And I'm still smiling because I talk to you every week.
Absolutely. So kicking off this week with the big issues, there's some good ones this week, mate.
Yeah, man.
We'll kick off with World Rugby have launched a brain health initiative, and with it, a message to current and former players that it's much more than just head knocks, which are contributing to dementia. At the World Rugby Medical Commission conference in London, the governing body on Thursday announced a new global education campaign aimed to support current and former elite players who might be concerned about their well-being and brain health. It comes, of course, just a couple of weeks after former All Blacks prop Carl Heyman revealed he had been diagnosed with early onset dementia. But in their new global initiative, World Rugby, in conjunction with independent experts, has outlined that concussion is just one of 12 modifiable risk factors that can affect brain health and influence the risk of getting dementia. Now, World Rugby, is this just a paper over the cracks, or are they actually doing something about it?
Well, I suppose they're doing something about it. I'd like to know what the other 11 factors are.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, a head knock causes dementia. I mean, what are the other 11 factors?
I did actually see them the other day. I'm just trying to, there's alcohol consumption is involved.
But these are things that are, okay, so the other things are things that
basically life.
Exactly,
life
things that everyone can affect them at any stage during their
like obesity.
Well, you're not going to get too many professional rugby players with that problem, are you?
Yeah. Well, you are after they stop playing.
Well, once they stop playing,
7 days a week. Yeah.
Sure. But like I say, the other things are risk factors that could be afforded anyone in their daily life. Let's be honest, mate. Yeah. Let's be honest. Head knocks cause dementia. That's the main factor for the rugby. They should just stick to doing everything they can to minimise head knocks as the main problem for concussion. I mean, that's for me. I know. What do you think?
Oh, exactly. It's the same with anything. You know, anybody can get a stroke. Anybody can have a heart attack.
Yep.
Anybody can get a brain injury.
Yep.
It's just they're more exposed than you or I, because
that's right. Because
I'm not banging our head against somebody else's head.
I'm not hitting 10 rucks a weekend. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, mate, yeah. Just stick to your knitting, mate. I mean, stick to the head injury problem. I think if they could solve that one, they'll be doing very well, because no other sport has done it yet. Has been able to sort of tackle that whole problem, have they? So, just concentrate on the head injury things. Yes, there may be other modifiable risk factors, but stick to your knitting. Just stick to what is the main cause of those sorts of problems amongst rugby players, which will be head injuries, won't they?
Yeah, you're not going to get. We're not just talking about rugby union, rugby league. Has
absolutely. So any contact sport. Yeah.
So does football, with hitting the ball so much.
Yep. Ice hockey. Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. We're gonna see rugby players not being allowed to tackle above the waist soon. I mean, they've got it to the chest level at the moment, but even then,
see, even if you do tackle around the waist, you can still get whiplash. You can still get a head knock. You can still hit the ground, and that's the thing. You can try and take away the tackle. The tackle isn't always the spot where the person gets a head knock. So I don't know, mate. You can try and modify it all the way, but in the end, it's not going to be rugby if you do all that. It's just not going to be it's not going to be the sport we love. So
yeah, it'll be the kids version where you got your two little strips of tag hanging at the top of your pants, and if you
that's right, Ripper Rugby.
That's
exactly. Yeah, I can just see Super Ripper Rugby.
Super Ripper Rugby.
They'll have a triple header on a Saturday night. Each game takes 10 minutes for for the younger crowd that sort of have a low attention span. Super Rubber Rugby. I can see that.
Quite right. We're talking guest, of course, but
hopefully not now. Hopefully not now. Lifetime, anyway, mate.
Yeah, quite right.
The new A-League season begins, and the Wellington Phoenix are going to be playing most of their home games in Australia, with the hope that they may be able to return to Sky Stadium in the new year, depending on border restrictions. The teams lost the bulk of their spine. Of course, Ulysses Davila and midfield general Cam Devlin, defender and captain Stephen Taylor should never have lost him, and striker Tomer Hamed have gone, and only forward Gary Hooper has returned to the club with a host of other Australian unknowns. Well, lots of guys that I haven't heard of anyway. The team still has 3 visa player spots left in the squad, and they'll do well to make the playoffs. So first game is the De Vere Derby against Macarthur. I hope they can win that one at least. It's going to be a tough season for the Phoenix, though. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, they're going to be pushing the proverbial uphill. I think this year they've got a very young squad. As you just mentioned, the new Australian players will be hoping that they perform better than some of the other Australian unknowns we've had in previous years. Pleased to see Gary Hooper back in the squad. I think him and David Ball worked together well when they were together a couple of years ago. A lot of onus is going to be put on those two, being pretty much the senior players of the squad. Very inexperienced backline without Stephen Taylor, as you said. Really disappointed that he's gone. I see that Alex Rufer has been named the team captain for the season, so all the very best to him. And Ollie Sale, the goalkeeper, has been named as vice captain. So,
jeez, that's a young side of those.
And it's certainly a young side, and obviously we'll support them. Hope they do well. I just think it's going to be a tough old season.
Ufuk Talay, he could be our trump card, really. He got a tune out of them last year when we weren't really expecting it, were we? So, he's a good coach. He's a very tactical, astute thinker. He's quite a fiery character as well on the sideline. And I think I hope that he can get a tune. This could be a great rebuilding year for the Phoenix. Let's just hope that they play a lot of young guys and we see some young talent coming through. Who knows? He could be another Sarpreet Singh. Someone like him. And I guess
once the border restrictions come off, then maybe he will fill those 3 visa squad spots. That'll be interesting to see. And obviously, we're hoping that the team can actually play some games in Wellington. They got to play one last year and one in Auckland, so hopefully they can get a few more this season.
Absolutely, bring back professional football.
There's been lots of disappointed and unhappy people in New Zealand this week asking the question: is Ian Foster still the right man for the job as All Blacks coach? In some quarters, there are comments that there's no plan B when things go wrong against stronger sides, as happened over the weekend against Ireland. Or did he choose wrong players out of position? One that confused me is David Havili's been a superstar at number 12 all season against good sides and bad, but Foster chose to put Leonard Brown at 12 and Rico Ioane at 13 after he has been just doing great things out on the wing. Foster also chose to put Beauden Barrett in at 10 after he had a strong performance against what you could only describe as a weakened Wales side. When it may have been better to start Moanga and bring Barrett off the bench, he may not have got that knock on the head. The other strange one for me, and it would have been not wanting to use Sam Cane, but he is a stronger 7 than Dalton Papali'i. Even though Papali'i did have a good game, I just think that experience of Cane. And I also prefer Savia at 7 rather than 8. I'm quite surprised Luke Jacobson hasn't appeared in many of the bigger games. I think he's a bit like, I want to say Kieran Reid, where he does the basic things really well and gets around the field. And they've named the side this week. Kane is back.
Aaron Smith at halfback.
Yeah, Aaron Smith is in. So Justin Marshall, that's why he was taken over there.
To me, that was the blindingly obvious thing. Oh, sorry, you carry on. Who else is in?
No, that's I was pretty much coming to the end.
Last week, mate. Honestly, that was perhaps the worst All Black performance I've seen since we lost to England. It is. What was concerning for me is that from start to finish, they never really showed anything. It was just And that's just not an All Black side. Usually at halftime or something, their defense was fantastic, but it had to be because we made like over 200 tackles.
Yeah.
The forwards, I don't think you can particularly blame the forwards. I thought the forwards tried hard. They were out-muscled at times, but they gave it their shot. But the back line, my God, they were like they never met each other. Honestly, it was just absolutely awful. And it brought me back to when Foster was in charge of the Chiefs and the back line there. It never really got functioning. I mean, for me, if they don't do the business against France, this is the most important test in his tenure. Make no doubts about it. If they don't do the business against France, I can see him being gone. I really can because, well, I mean, if I was in charge, he would be. I just cannot see if they have another performance like that where they just don't perform. I just don't see how you can have him as coach. I mean, there's better options, and some selection head scratches, and they're just
the team
not
for this week, as we've alluded to, has been named.
Yeah.
Havili's still on the bench. He's given Quinn Tupara a run at 12,
he has.
I'm happy with that. Quinn has been playing very well, but he's got Ioane at 13 again.
Yeah.
Look, I know Will Jordan has just been, you can't drop him on the right wing, but Rico's played both wings. Why not put him on the left? He's giving George Bridge another go. Bridge, traditionally I've been a George Bridge fan. I like the way he plays, but he's just been missing something this year.
He has. He hasn't got that X factor. For an All Black winger, All Black winger has to have something special, right? Yeah, man, I don't know. For me, and TJ Perinara last week, mate, he was just atrocious, I thought.
He had a poor game.
He did. And I mean, he might have played well, earlier in the season. I just don't think he's the All Black halfback anymore. Precisely the reason Aaron Smith was coming over. It started with him and it ended all the way through the back line. I just thought the back line, I just could not believe it. Every time they got it, I was just gnashing of teeth. They just need to play better. They need to play like a team. Yeah. Usually as well, when the All Blacks are on tour, they get better. They get, and they just don't seem to be. And it's just concerning as all hell because, this time next year, we're only 1 year out from a World Cup, mate. So
a couple of other head-scratching selections for me this week. Ethan Blackadder has been left out completely of the squad altogether. Akira Ioane has come in on the blind side. Kane is on the open side. As I mentioned, Dane Coles has come in to start as hooker instead of.
I think that's okay.
Cody
Taylor. Yeah, Dane Coles looked quite good when he came on. At least he gave it a bit of mongrel. At least he started shoving a few people, like he does. But yeah, mate, this is a watershed test in Foster's tenure. If he can't get a tune out of them this week, I would not be surprised if he's gone for next year. So big test.
Could very well be.
And I think the referee this weekend, have you checked who the referee is?
Wayne Barnes
against the French.
I thought he'd retired from international rugby.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's the referee. I heard it on Sens this morning. They were talking about it. Oldie and Smith was saying, it'll be interesting to see whether he can pick up a forward pass.
Yeah, now our other big issue that we also talked about last week, and it appears something hasn't gone quite right in this. I'll read through it. Former England cricketers Matthew Hoggard, Michael Vaughan, Tim Bresnan, and Gary Ballance and jovial commentator David Lloyd have been accused of racism by Yorkshire player Azim Rafiq, who has testified at a 4-hour hearing at the Houses of Parliament. Rafiq claims English cricket is institutionally racist and was an open secret in the England dressing room. And he wept as he relived his inhumane treatment after blowing the whistle on the game's racism scandal and how it cost him his career and nearly his life, he claims. However, it hasn't gone quite so well for Rafiq after he needed to apologise.
Yeah.
It was revealed by the Times, who uncovered an anti-Semitic exchange of messages to a fellow cricketer on Facebook some years.
So,
calling the kettle?
Yeah, don't go throwing stones in glass houses when you're... Yeah, that's the thing, racism, eh? I mean, it happens everywhere, every day, through just about everyone. Let's be honest. I mean, we've all got, we try and say we're all the human race, but we've all got, biases. And, try not, if anyone says they don't, other than the Dalai Lama, I just don't believe them, to be fair. Look, I just think don't put them out in public. If you're a public figure, what the hell are you tweeting? All this sort of stuff. It all comes out, but don't go throwing stones in glass houses. As for those former England cricketers, Matthew, Michael, Tim, Gary, and David, they do sound a little bit racist. Just don't they? And Azim, they'll probably be like, who the hell's Azim anyway? Look, it wouldn't surprise me. Would it surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me. There has to be some form of racism.
And just, especially in somewhere like England, where
absolutely.
the Fleet Street journalists, if you accuse somebody of something, they're going to dig real deep on you, pal.
Aren't they?
They're going to dig real deep on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You better not have anything in the closet.
No, absolutely not. So, will be interesting to see what comes out of that. Obviously,
how's he going to prove it? Has he got recordings? Has he got letters? Has he got... No. Or is he just talking anecdotally?
It's all anecdotally.
I just...
Yeah, and I mean, already Michael Vaughan has come out saying he never said what he supposedly said, and Joe Root claims that he never heard Gary Balance making those comments, and
he
said.
Yeah, we never.
Yeah. Just be careful when you're
accusing someone of racism.
Accusing something of racism, and you've got something in your own closet.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's our big issues for this week. What's happening in the world of football?
Let's go to round ball. Let's go to the field billiards. 4 new managers are going to suit up for the first time this weekend. Thank God the international break is over. Ooh. We've now got a nice clear passage right the way through till March. Club football all the way, as it should be. Right. The international break. Former Aston Villa boss Dean Smith taking over at Norwich against Southampton. Ironically, the last team Villa played before he was sacked. So he's taking over the team that he got sacked after playing and losing against them. So that'll be very interesting to see how Dean Smith goes. I think Norwich have done very well getting him in. His replacement at Villa, Stephen Gerrard, is going to be in the dugout against visiting Brighton. And Eddie Howe is going to manage his first game for Newcastle against struggling Brentford. While also Antonio Conte's second game in charge of Spurs is a home game against Leeds. What do you make of all the managerial things? Which game out of those will you have an eye on most?
It seems to be a regular, doesn't it, during the international break that teams decide they're going to sack somebody, and it gives them a couple of weeks to get a new man in, and he gets his feet under the table before all the players get back from international break. I'm really, really interested to see how Stevie G goes.
Me too.
At Villa. Might start watching a few of their games. He's come out and said he wants to play attractive football. And he's got some players in there that can play attractive football.
Yep.
Really keen. I think a couple of the players that came into Villa that haven't performed quite as well as probably Dean Smith expected them to. I think Stevie G will get the best out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guys that are all playing now would have been fans of Stephen Gerrard.
Absolutely.
When he was a player.
Yeah.
And I mean, even somebody like Danny Ings has played alongside him during his Liverpool days. So, it's going to be real interesting. Also keen to see how Newcastle goes with Eddie Howe. Don't know whether he's going to see too much improvement.
Yeah, he likes to play attractive football too. He likes to play attractive football. Unfortunately, doesn't quite have the tools in the box, Newcastle. He's got a lame St. Maximum, but I love watching Newcastle for him, but that's about it. Really, it's going to be real interesting to see how Stephen Gerrard goes. I mean, obviously, when he was in Scotland, he was top of the table, or he's always going to be one of the top 2 teams. So he's always fighting with a few more tools in his box. Whereas Aston Villa, often you're going to be playing teams with better players. So it's going to be so interesting to see how he can develop that, what sort of style he plays, and whether he can get a tune out of the players. Like I say, Leon Bailey. He's one of the players they brought in. He was so exciting early in the season, then got an injury. They've got some really handy players there. I hope that he can get a tune out of them. I mean, I hope he does. I mean, I hope he goes well. I really do. And also Dean Smith at Norwich. That will be interesting. That's going to be super interesting because the
next few weeks are going to make for necessary watching.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, a team close to our heart, Liverpool, will need to turn their form around after their patchy showing last time out at West Ham. With in-form Arsenal visiting Anfield, a win by the visitors will put them ahead of the Merseysiders after losing their first 3 games of the season. They've gone 10 games now without a single loss. So a great run for Arsenal.
But they haven't really played too many big teams though.
No,
so
they haven't.
This and they're visiting Anfield. This is going to be a real test for Michael Arteta for the rest of the season. Yeah, they're in some good form. Emil Smith-Rowe played really well. He's just got his first goal for England. They're a handy side. They're a very young side. And I just hope that Anfield's a little bit too much. And I hope that Liverpool come out angry after that loss against West Ham. They come out, they've had 2 weeks to sort of digest it on international duty. Unfortunately, we picked up a few injuries. I think Andrew Robertson's picked up an injury.
Yep.
I think Henderson might have limped off. So I don't even know who's going to be in our side, but hopefully the guys play angry and we smash the arse.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Robertson, but Henderson is definitely okay to play.
Oh, is he?
The other one that was doubtful was Sadio Mane after he went off in one of Senegal's games, but he's come back fine and he trained fully with the team. Good to see Harvey Elliott out on the training field after his horror ankle injury earlier in the season. Should hopefully see him back maybe just after Christmas. They haven't put a time on it, but Arsenal, the last time they won at Anfield was 2012.
That was when I was there.
It was.
I
wasn't going to mention that.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, the last time we were there. Oh, we had a missed penalty. We should have scored 4 in the first half.
Yep.
Oh, mate. And then Robert Van Persie scored a couple of absolute belters in the second half. And the Arsenal fans wouldn't let us out of Anfield without Robin Van Persie. He scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. I was just like, it was a great day. My only time at Anfield, and we had a loss. So
quite right. I wasn't going to bring that up, but a number of big countries face missing next year's World Cup after the European qualifiers this week. Euro champs Italy, Portugal, Sweden, Ukraine, and Poland all face playoffs, along with Scotland, Wales, North Macedonia, Russia, Czech Republic, Austria, and Turkey, while Romania has missed out altogether. Some great games during the week. You mentioned Emil Smith-Rowe getting his first goal for England against San Marino. I think if you'd played for England that day, you probably would have got your first goal. They weren't much cop, were they?
San Marino 10-0. I heard a little stat the other day that had their last 10 years worth of results and they've conceded like 750 something goals and God scored 15. They've drawn twice and lost like 78 games or so. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So this has brought up the argument, should there be pre-qualifying? But isn't this what it is anyway? I mean, smaller nations need to get better. So, and especially for a small nation like New Zealand where we hardly ever play, I look at something like San Marino, they're so lucky. They get to play teams like that, you know?
So, absolutely. I mean, what have they? They've had 10 qualifying games, and
against good opposition, they should be getting better. They're not, but they should be. And then earlier, Gareth Barry had them playing pretty well earlier in the week as well against Georgia when they won 4-0. I think it was Jordan Henderson. Albania, sorry. And then Harry Kane scored 4. Was it?
Yeah, he got 4 in both. He got 4 in the San Marino game and 3 in the.
And they're like, Harry Kane's out of his slump. He's out of his slump now. And you're like, because he's playing a very, very average team.
Playing Albania and San Marino.
It's not the same as playing in the Premier League. And then Harry Maguire scores a goal and does this. Like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, this is for England against some minnow. I don't know. England should have smashed 14 past those 2 teams, to be fair.
Yep.
But there are some interesting teams in the playoffs. Go the mighty Scots, I say. I'd love to see them in the World Cup. And Portugal, man, they had chances. They just didn't take them against Sweden.
No.
And Italy as well. Italy, the European champions.
Held to a 0-0 draw by plucky Northern Ireland.
I know. It was great. Fantastic. So
I tell you what, I was really impressed with how both Scotland and Wales played in those last couple of games.
They played
really well against Denmark, who hadn't lost a game all qualifying. And of course, Wales, who beat the world number 1, Belgium.
Mate, in front of no one as well. I mean, that's Steve Clarke. He is getting a tune out of that team, isn't he, mate, for Scotland? He is really, I mean, he used to be assistant manager for Liverpool, did really well at Aberdeen, and he is just, he's a fantastic manager, man. He's a fantastic manager, a very good technical manager as well. And he's getting such a tune out of them. And they've got some really good players, the Scots. They just need a striker. Imagine if Chris Wood, every time I sort of think, every time one of these teams go, we just need a striker, I think, imagine if Chris Wood was up front for Scotland. Imagine how many goals he'd score. It's got a pile. But no, I'd love to see the Scots back at the World Cup. And I'm sure the World Cup organisers would as well, because it's a great World Cup when the Scots are there.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, they're actually, because of the points they accumulated during the qualifying,
they're seeded.
Actually seeded quite highly. So could face, a Turkey or an Austria or a North Macedonia, or a Poland, and you have to back them against any of those sides.
Absolutely, mate. Yep, go the Scots.
Go the Sweaties.
In South America, big names like Chile and Uruguay are struggling to make the World Cup. Both are a point behind Peru in 5th place. We know Peru are pretty handy, though. They beat the All Whites last time, didn't they? Yep. Peru in the 5th place, and Colombia, who hold the automatic 4th qualification spot by goal difference. Brazil and Argentina have already qualified with 4 games to go, while Ecuador hold the 3rd spot and need just one more win to secure their spot. Interesting, Chile and Uruguay, though, to see whether they can make it up.
Yeah,
those are big teams.
A World Cup without Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani could be,
and Ronaldo, maybe.
And Ronaldo.
Portugal.
Yeah, well, of course, Norway have missed out, so Heartland might be going to the World Cup.
Yep.
Mind you, there's scattered throughout history, there are a number of top players that never played at a World Cup.
Absolutely. George Best,
Ryan Giggs, Ian Rush.
All the Welsh, all the Welsh players,
all Northern Irish, there
are. There's been some
top players that
I must say as well. I've been championing Mikel Antonio for the England side. I heard during the week that he played for Jamaica, so there is a reason that he hasn't been playing for England.
Yep, and I think Gareth Barry, if he's listening to this, he'll be interested to hear that he's the New England coach.
Okay, will they?
Ahead of Gareth Southgate. Anyway,
he'd probably do a better job, to be fair.
We're only the end of November, but transfer talk is hotting up as the January window looms over the horizon, with Newcastle apparently signing up to 9 new players, while Manchester City, funnily enough, with a host of players too. The rumours are in overdrive at the moment, aren't they?
What have you heard? 9 new players at Newcastle. They're going to get a brand new team for January, are they?
Oh, absolutely. I saw a thing on Facebook. You know how different pages post, this is what it'll look like if the
yeah.
And
they'll be seriously lit.
Yeah.
They're on fire.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle had, I can't even think of any of their players now.
Mbappe.
Yeah.
Sancho.
Karim Benzema.
Hazard's one they've talked about.
Yeah,
Eden Hazard. Newcastle. So basically all the players that have gone to super clubs that have failed. Gareth Bale, he'll come back and play for Newcastle, won't he?
Yeah, Philippe Coutinho.
Oh, yeah, of course, because moving from Barcelona or Madrid to Newcastle. Yeah.
Although Coutinho's denied those rumours.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Of course he has. Coutinho couldn't stand Liverpool. I don't know how he's going to try. How he's going to survive in Newcastle. Oh, I know. It's just going to be so interesting to see who Newcastle do sign. Because you generally in the January transfer window, there's only limited players available for a start. I suppose they've got an unlimited checkbook, so they can probably go and throw the money around.
Do you think that clubs, will say Karim Benzema is linked with a move to Newcastle? You think Real Madrid might add an extra 20 million euro on the price?
Of course. They know
Newcastle's got plenty of money. They can afford it.
Okay, they go, 200 million.
Yeah.
Newcastle bet 100, they go, 200. They go come back with 150, 175. Oh, sweet, we just made an extra 75 million.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you could definitely hold them to ransom, that's for sure. If you had a player that they want.
And we actually did see that with Manchester City when they first came into money.
Yes. Yeah, they got robbed for players. The amount they spent for Robinho originally. Ooh, absolutely notorious. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, phone book money.
Yes.
The Premier League. Go for it.
Just going to say, speaking of Newcastle United, The Premier League's looking for a new chairman after Gary Hoffman quit after just 18 months in the job, with clubs having turned against him over the handling of the Saudi-led takeover of the Geordies.
What happened to him?
A lot of the clubs were upset that the Premier League didn't really come out
strongly against the
Saudi injustices and all that sort of thing, and all that. So he's
gone. Oh well, fair enough. He's probably taken a backhander, a few Saudi dollars. He'll be chairman of the Saudi Football Association shortly. Probably that's the way it works, doesn't it? You move from one to the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no nepotism in football, mate. None at all. Brazilian fullback Dani Alves, who must be about 100 years old now, has returned to Barcelona. Oh, he's only 38. I'm pretty sure he's 100. To help out his old mate and new manager Xavi at the club, and turned up to his unveiling in Jandals in tribute to how he turned up to the new camp when he first signed for them 13 years ago. Dani Alves was linked to Liverpool when Rafa Benitez was coach. That's how long Dani Alves is playing. I can't believe that I can believe they've signed him. I don't really believe they've signed him as a player. I think they've sort of signed him as a mentor, probably for the younger guys. They've got they've got Serginho Dest playing right back, who plays, he's an American right back who's very handy. So I can't imagine they've signed him as a player. If they have, they are bloody desperate, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they've slapped a clause in his contract for a release clause of €100 million.
Those release clauses are crazy. Who's going to pay that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't imagine he's going to play too many games. But welcome back, Danny. So. The goalkeeper for the Iran women's team is suing the Jordanian FA after they accused her of being a man. Oh, no.
I don't know if you saw photos of this.
I didn't.
Woman, but she looked very manly.
Zoe Corday saved 2 penalties in a 4-2 shootout victory over Jordan, qualifying them for their first ever Women's Asia Cup. So she saved 2 penalties, and they said, no way a woman could have saved those. she's a guy. So what's happened? We just watched the space, is it?
That's the latest I've heard.
Okay, we'll keep you posted here on the Hot Air Sports Podcast.
As I say, the facial features were...
really?
Yeah, I mean, people thought that the South African runner, Caster Semenya, was a man. She looks very feminine compared to this woman.
I'll stop, Chook. The thing is, if you're gonna get a guy in your team in a woman's football team, why would you put him in goal?
Well, because they're Iranians, they're all dressed up in their burqas, so you've only got the face showing.
No way.
You look it up, people, look it up.
Okay, we better move on.
Moving on. The A-League starts tonight, as we talked about earlier, with last season's champs Melbourne City hosting Brisbane.
Sorry, carry on.
Melbourne Victory visit Western United, and West Sydney Wanderers host Sydney FC on Saturday, with former Liverpool striker Daniel Sturridge making his Perth debut at home against Adelaide on Sunday morning.
Unless he stubs his toe beforehand.
Yeah.
Unless he injures himself before.
Well, there is always that in there.
Yeah.
Newcastle are hosting Central Coast in the M1 Derby, or the F1 Derby, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Phoenix visiting Macarthur on Sunday. You'd have to say that Melbourne City would be favourites again, wouldn't you?
Well, they've got a bloody good side. Some of the other sides look really strong. I mean, that's half the reason why I don't know. I just seem to get more and more disappointed with the Phoenix every year. But I mean, provided this is a rebuilding season, it's just holding on to talent. They just can't hold on to talent, and other clubs don't seem to have a problem with that. So
yeah,
I would say so, mate. I mean, probably Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory. It'll be interesting to see whether they improve.
Yeah, they were hopeless.
Worse. Yeah, they were hopeless last, and I think Perth will probably be pretty strong as well,
especially if
Daniel Sturridge plays. I mean, if Daniel Sturridge stays fit, he should score 20 goals. I mean, should do.
Well, the last full season he had in the English Premiership was that 2013-14 season, wasn't it? When
him and Suarez went berserk.
Him and Suarez scored 63 goals each.
Yeah.
And he was just outstanding with the the other two S's, Suarez and Sterling.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would love to see Daniel Sturridge do well for Perth. And I think the other team that always seems to be there, Sydney FC, they'll be there or thereabouts as well. So
well, they got the money.
Yeah, well, them and Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City are the three richest clubs in that league, aren't they? So
and we'll report on those results next week, won't we? As the A-League kicks off across Australia. Let's go to rugby, mate. The All Blacks lost their first game, as we talked about earlier, of the Southern Hemisphere tour. The first game of the Southern Hemisphere tour against, it wasn't their first game, was it? But anyway, they lost a game. They lost against Ireland 29-20. I thought they were bloody lucky to only lose by 9. Former Chiefs winger James Lowe scored the first try of the game. Great try it was too. He played bloody well. Man of the match for me. So what did you make
I think that's enough talking about. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about
move on. Flush the dunny. Waikato.
Oh, sorry.
You carry on. No, you go.
Waikato will host Tasman in this weekend's NPC Premiership final on Rotorua, while in the Championship, Taranaki will play Otago. Given the effect COVID restrictions are placed on the tournament, with Auckland, North Harbour and counties having had to withdraw, there will be no promotion or relegation this year. And also in Heartland Rugby, Wanganui won the Lahore Cup for 34th place. Good old
It's your local team? It's your local team?
Yep, good old Wongas. They beat North Otago 22-16. South Canterbury completed an unbeaten season, beating Thames Valley 35-16 to win the Meads Cup for first and second, while Poldy Bay picked up 5th place and the Bill Osborne Tonga beating Mid-Canterbury 33-26. So
what I do like about the Heartland Rugby is they name the trophies after past players.
Quite right.
You know,
quite right.
What a great thing to do. Why don't take a leaf out of, everyone should take a leaf out of that book. Let's name stadiums and all our competitions after past players. So I do like that. I do like having that. I've never heard of the Bill Osborne Tonga though. That's quite cool.
No, it's just a new trophy this year, I think.
Nice.
But yeah, who's your pick for the two finals? The Premiership, Waikato hosting Tasman.
I haven't watched a lot of it. I have. I mean, okay. I would have thought Hawke's Bay would have been there somewhere because they played really well this season.
They got beaten by Tasman on the weekend.
Okay, well, I'll pick Tasman then. I didn't see any of that, so I'll go for Tasman. If they beat Hawke's Bay, I think they can beat Waikato.
Yeah, purely on that form on the weekend. I did watch quite a bit of that Tasman Hawke's Bay game. It was an absolute cracker. I can't remember the score, but it was 30-something to 20-something. So there were plenty of tries, plenty of action. And Waikato beat Canterbury in the other semi-final. It was a close one, only a couple of points in it. So, you'd have to go on form. You'd have to go Tasman. And in the Championship, I don't think you can go past Taranaki. They've had an outstanding season and will be dead disappointed that they can't get promotion if they win this game against Otago.
Absolutely. The Wallabies, they were thrashed 32-15 by England. South Africa were too strong for Scotland, winning 30-15, and Wales beat Fiji 38-23. France actually struggled early, but eventually overcame a spirited Georgia side 41-15 in the international rugby that went on last weekend. Shall we go to league?
No, I've got a bit more rugby news for you.
Okay, go on.
Here we go. Just like to say, I thought, yes, South Africa did beat Scotland by 15 points, but I actually thought Scotland played really well in that game. And it was only a couple of late tries or a late try and a penalty that blew that score out.
Shall we say something about the refereeing in all those matches?
No.
Maybe we'll just avoid it.
We'll just avoid that.
The All Blacks game.
Just get angry.
I mean, there were two people refereeing the game.
Yeah.
I mean, the VAR, I'll find an angle. It's like, come on. Anyway.
Yes. The draw for next year's Super Rugby Pacific was announced during the week with new teams Fiji and Drua. This will be an absolute cracking opening game.
Drua!
Set to visit Eden Park to play the Blues
on
opening weekend, while Moana Pacifica will host the Brumbies at their new Mount Smart Stadium home.
Nice.
The only Kiwi derby in the first round sees a southern matchup as the mighty Crusaders have the Highlanders come visit Christchurch, while the Hurricanes visit Sydney to play New South Wales, and the Chiefs are in Brisbane to face Queensland. The action kicks off on the weekend of 18th and 19th of February, going through to the final in June.
Nice. Not too far away, mate.
Couple of exciting games first up. Obviously, I'll be watching the Crusaders Highlanders with great interest. But yeah, I'll be very interested to see how the Fijian and Moana Pacifica sides go.
Absolutely. Should add a bit of colour and a bit of flair, a bit more extra flair and a bit of excitement to the competition. It's needed to be jazzed up a little bit. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
I just hope that they're still doing this conference system, aren't they? Still, yeah.
Yep. So hopefully we'll see the Mount Smart Stadium lit up in the Moana Pacifica colours. I'm sure
that'd be great.
And at least Mount Smart Stadium will get to see some sort of football.
It's been in mothballs for 2 years, mate. Honestly, it's been packed away.
It is.
I have to unpack it.
Quite right. That's enough union. On to league. What's happening in the league world?
Oh, mate, the road to the rescheduled Rugby League World Cup was announced. Begins this week. Tournament organisers confirmed 61-match schedule. It's going to be revealed in full tomorrow. The tournament kicks off at St James's Park, Newcastle, on the 15th of October when England take on Samoa, and it's going to culminate in a spectacular fashion at Old Trafford in Manchester on the 19th of November 2022 for the men and the women's double-header final. Confirmation this week that Australia and New Zealand will be there for the Rugby League World Cup, which should be great in 2022.
Excellent. It was a great move to delay it by a year.
It was the right move. I mean, they got dogs abuse from the Northern Hemisphere, and then they went into another COVID lockdown, and they were proven right. So it was the right thing to do.
Right.
Almost as soon as the Dolphins were confirmed as the NRL's 17th team, the conversation immediately shifted to who is going to become the 18th team in the NRL.
Bring back the Bears.
There is talk of this. The losing Brisbane bids were upbeat in defeat, while Perth and a second side in New Zealand also remain confident they can still become expansion teams, while a majority of the NRL clubs are keen on an 18-team competition to avoid the one team having a bye each round. Concerns remain over whether the talent pool is deep enough to maintain a strong competition standard. A fifth team in Rugby League, Heartland, Queensland, looks the obvious next step for the NRL, but the time zones in Western Australia and New Zealand give the NRL more flexibility in scheduling. A 7:30 p.m. Start during winter in Western Australia will be 9:30 p.m. in New South Wales, which is perfect for them for their late game. And in New Zealand, of course, an extra New Zealand team with the help of Friday at 6 p.m. They could have two games on a Friday. Yeah. So the options include the Brisbane Jets, maybe. The Perth, they haven't given a name, maybe Reds. They were called the Perth Reds a few years ago.
The Western Reds, weren't they?
The Western Reds, yeah, all those years ago when Mark Kaya went over there and played for them. The New Zealand side, they're talking about the Wellington Orcas, perhaps, which I quite like the sound of. And dare we say it, the North Sydney Bears.
North Sydney Bears.
Bring back Clayton Friending, Mark Graham.
Yeah.
And Olsen Filipina.
Gary Larson, Billy Moore. Some of those great North Sydney players.
You just like their colours, didn't you?
Red and
black. And red. Red and black. Yeah.
Actually, the only it's the only game of NRL I ever went to in Sydney was at North Sydney Oval.
And I went there a couple of times.
It was the Bears up against the Parramatta Eels.
Nice.
And it was actually Peter Sterling's last ever game.
Really? What year was that? So that would have been 80...
80, maybe? 2, 83. No, but after that. 80,
yeah, it would have been like mid-80s, 86 maybe? Mid-80s, I'd say.
Something around there.
Yeah,
37.
I went there. I visited them when I was a young boy. I went over there and saw North Sydney play Canterbury Bankstown, the Bulldogs at the North. It was a great ground, wasn't it? It was a cricket ground. But played the football there.
A miniature Sydney cricket ground.
It was a miniature Sydney cricket. Like they've got the old bricks and stuff and the beautiful picket fence around it. Yeah. Beautiful ground. And transfer news, former Warriors barnstorming. He probably is a brainstormer. Barnstorming back rower Isaiah Papali'i has confirmed that this 2022 season will be his last in Eels colours before he links with the Wests Tigers on a lucrative 3-year deal. The Eels confirmed on Thursday that Papali'i, arguably one of the buys of the year this season, informed the club that he will be leaving for the West Tigers in 2023. The 23-year-old produced his best ever career numbers under Brad Arthur at the Eels this year. He averaged over 150 metres per game with a total of 7 tries, 109 tackle busts, 30 offloads across 25 games. I thought that was quite surprising because They must have offered him a bumper contract at the Tigers. Good luck to the boy. He's done very, very well this year. And here we go. The vaccines in the NRL. The NRL has refused to follow the AFL's mandate, lead and mandate vaccines. What do you make of this, Mecca?
Yeah, interesting.
Leaving clubs to navigate the 2022 preseason and beyond with unvaccinated players on their books in the belief that the group's risk to the competition is low to nothing. Peter V'landys, the ARL chairman, said that we believe we can, like the government in New South Wales, allow for 95% vaccination, and the 5% who don't, you can work with it. The risk is low to nothing. So we are going in accordance with what the New South Wales government is doing. We can put processes in place where no one is at risk. The Raiders, Storm, Bulldogs, Panthers, Cowboys, Manly, and Titans have all flagged players who are vaccine hesitant, and the NRL is set to release more formalised jab policy in the coming weeks. What do you make of, first of all, the what Peter V'landys is saying? There's no risk.
Yeah, Mr. V'landys, I think there is a bit of a risk.
I think there is too.
Yeah. It seems strange that they're doing this. I mean, you look at just about every other sport in Australia is saying if you no vax, no play. So I don't know why NRL is any different to them.
It's strange, eh? And especially considering they moved to Brisbane earlier, and that Brisbane, and the state has a mandated thing. Well, you know, when you talk about the Warriors, they're almost there. Apparently, they're almost at 100%. They've said that every player has been jabbed except for one. Now, they haven't named this player, but they are aware. But people are aware that the situation of an unvaccinated player in the group and what the repercussions for that are. The Warriors are aware of it, and they're working with the player concerned, is what they've said. So just about everyone at the Warriors has taken the jab and been double vaxxed, so we're going to be fine, except for the one player. I just think we have to. Nelson Asofa Solomona is one of the big guys who's anti-vax, and he said, no, I will not be vaccinated. For me, I think if you're anti-vax, you can't play. I think that's simple as that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they revisit that in the coming weeks. But very, very interesting to see where that goes. We will watch with interest. Yeah, I don't know what medical advice Mr. V'landys is listening to, but Joe Rogan, perhaps. Joe Rogan. He believes that they can. It's not zero to no risk. Those 5% are putting everyone else at risk. Strange. And Warrior Watch, mate, the boys have now relocated to their base in Redcliffe in Queensland and putting in the mahi and looking fit and tanned in their new Puma apparel. I've got a new sponsorship deal with Puma this year. First time in 20 years they've been with Puma. They've been with Canterbury for the last 20 years. So very, very good. They look lovely and tanned and terrific over there. As long as they don't Puma pants. There may be a couple of issues. It is hot up there. New guys, Aaron Penne, Sean Johnson are fitting in well, and the news that the Warriors have signed a new up-and-coming halfback, Luke Metcalf from the Sharks from 2023. He's a terrific young talent, only played a handful of NRL games, but has been on the Warriors' radar for a while. He's able to play fullback or in the halves. He's represented New South Wales at age group levels and is a strike weapon out wide. In age group footy, he scored 63 tries in 89 matches and was a very handy goal kicker as well. This signing even more interesting after Chanel Harris-Tavita today apparently offered a new contract after interest from Canberra. Maybe they'll be moving him to hooker because we still need a hooker for the upcoming season. So watch this space. But I'm glad they've re-signed or trying to re-sign Chanel Harris-Tavita, and this young guy looks very, very handy as well. And while Reece Walsh is suspended for the first couple of games next season for his off-field indiscretions, it may be possible that Metcalf could be lining up in the number one for the Warriors in the first game of the season, as both Metcalf and the guy we talked about last week, Marata Nuakore, are due to, from Parramatta, the big forward. They're due to play out the final year of their contracts with the Sharks and the Eels, respectively, before joining the Warriors. But if they are granted early releases, which the Warriors often do when players don't want to play for them anymore, they could be inside their squad this year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. And in other rugby league news, former All Blacks 7-star and Olympic silver medalist, Will Warbrick has joined the Melbourne Storm after a successful Sevens career. Not unusual for the Storm to sign guys like this. They've done it before. The Lavia brothers, of course, and Matt Duffy in the past from rugby as well. But interesting to see how Will goes for the Melbourne Storm this year. And that's our league grip.
Quite a lot of league news for it being
It
an
is.
off season.
Yeah, mate.
That one kept you busy.
On. Yeah.
Now, disappointment, obviously, earlier in the week, despite a classic Kane Williamson innings. Black Caps were beaten by Australia in the T20 World Cup Final after losing the toss and having to bat first in the game. Don't know about you, but I think T20 is too short a game when it can be decided by the toss of a coin. 90% of the games at that World Cup were won by teams batting second.
Yep, you're not going to get any argument from me. I think you could have just put a full stop after T20 is too short.
Yeah,
you could just put a full stop there. It is. It's a toss of a coin. It's just too random for me. It was a good game. I mean, it was good to watch because we had a team in the final and they played pretty well. The Aussies just pulled it out in the final. We just didn't. And also, it's so hard once a batsman gets going. It's so hard for any bowlers to pull them back because you especially if it's at the top of the order, because you know you got 8-9 guys to come. You know, it's just I just think I find it quite interesting. The best part of T20 for me is the way that the bowlers have changed and evolved their games to produce different deliveries. I think that's probably the best part of the T20. Now they've got, the faster bowlers have all sorts of back of the hand, slower balls and slower bounces and, all different types of things with the same action. So I think that's perhaps the best innovation from T20, which they've brought to Test cricket and one-day cricket. Other than that, it's too short. It's too much of a lottery for me. Don't really enjoy it. Yeah.
The Black Caps are now playing the most pointless series.
This is ridiculous. This is dumb.
In the history of the game of cricket, the most pointless T20 series in India, leading to the 2 Test series, and both Williamson and star all-rounder Kyle Jamieson are taking a break and avoiding the T20s. Good on them to concentrate on preparing for the Test matches. The first meeting between the countries since the Kiwis beat their hosts in the World Test Championship final in June.
So
why are they playing a T20 series?
They're in the final of the T20 World Cup. At 11 p.m. that night, they fly to India. The day after that, they're playing a game of T20 against India. They've also got 2 tests. Why couldn't they just play 3 tests?
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just go over there and play a 3-test series? You know why? Because they get 70,000 people there and it's money.
Exactly.
It's all about the money.
It's a bit like what happens in rugby. You play the World Cup final, and then the All Blacks win the World Cup in 2015, and then 4 weeks later they're back in the UK on a tour.
Yeah, it's
really
money. There's only one reason.
All it is.
It's only one reason they'll be doing it. I mean, when the cricket associations always say, player welfare, it's all about, just don't believe that.
Yeah,
it's always about money. I mean, it should be. We should be. Look, haven't we? We've just played international T20 cricket. Everyone was there. We played everyone. Why do we need to go and do it again?
No idea.
I mean, play tests. Play real cricket.
Yeah, play tests in 1 day and forget T20.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go to stateside, mate. The NFL, the Arizona Cardinals lost their second game after we championed them as the best team in the NFL last week. They lost their second game, going down 34-10 to the Carolina Panthers. A team fired up at the return of star quarterback Cam Newton. He's back. He's back, baby. Oh, Cam Newton's back and back for the Panthers. He only featured in 4 plays, but the whole team were energized by his return after an unsuccessful stint as Tom Brady's successor at New England. And another upset result, Brady's Buccaneers lost to the unnamed, I love it, Washington football team, 29-19. That was a big upset, wasn't it?
That was a big upset. Yep. And last week we talked about Odell Beckham Jr. being released by the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
And he joined the LA Rams within a couple of days. And
man, he made an impact too, didn't he?
He made an impact. He lost their first game, his first game against a fired up San Francisco 49ers, 31-10, the Rams' second loss in a row. I watched this game and boy, the 49ers, they were just outstanding. They were a different team to the one that got thrashed the week before. It was just unbelievable.
How good is George Kittle, man? I just love that guy.
He is an absolute freak.
He is so good. I mean, they can keep Gronkowski.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just awesome.
Yeah.
I love a big tight end.
Quite right. No, I was Yeah, the San Francisco were just all over the Rams.
It's so hard to be consistent in the NFL, isn't it?
It is, eh?
I mean, there's only ever been one team in the history to go through a whole season unbeaten. And it's not like they play 30 games.
Yeah.
They play, if you make the NFL, you play under 20 games. So you'd think in the history of it, there'll be a few unbeaten teams. There's only one ever team, that Dolphins side back in the 70s, that's ever done it. It's just so hard.
At the other end, there's a lot of teams that have gone 16.
Oh, yeah, there are. Yeah, but just to keep consistency. I mean, there's hardly any team, unless it's got Tom Brady or Bill Belichick in the, as a coach, that are just consistently
not
good.
Who's there? Owen 16.
Exactly. Stateside as well, a sport that we forgot about last week, which is so weird because the World Series was on, Mecca.
Yes,
we talked about it with Budgie the week before last, but we forgot about it last week. Of course, there is a new World Series champion.
Yes, the Atlanta Braves won the World Series in 6 games over the cheating Houston Astros. And slugger Jorge Soler taking out the MVP award. One of those home runs he hit, and it was just an incredible hit. I think it's actually still going.
Yeah.
It was hit in Atlanta, and I think it landed somewhere in Canada. It was just a massive hit.
Yeah.
He is just a monster. You're never going to get a good average out of him, but boy, can he hit the ball over the fence.
So he'll be playing for the Yankees next year, will he?
Probably not. Yeah,
he deserved it. He deserved it.
Yeah, it's so deserving. Just brilliant. But yeah, now that the World Series is finished, silly season's underway with players hitting free agency now, and Houston has re-signed a veteran pitcher Justin Verlander to a 1-year, $25 million deal.
Other teams were sniffing around him, weren't they?
They were. There was rumors that he was going to go to the Yankees, but
I saw that. Yeah,
wouldn't have thought the Yankees would want him. Angels have signed Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard. Otherwise,
have they?
For 1 year and $21 million.
He's one of the fastest pitchers, isn't he? He
regularly throws the ball above 100 mile an hour.
Yep.
Although between him and Verlander, I think they've thrown half a dozen pitches in the last 2 years. So
Tommy Johns, did he have Tommy Johns, I think, didn't he?
Bit of a risk for both of them. Hence the 1 year deal. Boston pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez signs a 5-year deal worth about $77 million in total to go to the Detroit Tigers. Plenty more to come, especially with the hot shortstop market, as Dodgers' Corey Seager, Houston's Carlos Correa, Toronto's Marcus Semien, and Colorado's Trevor Story are all seeking big money deals.
I heard Correa might be heading to the Yankees.
Well, the rumors are, the Yankees are definitely in the market for a shortstop. I think they've decided to go all out. They got themselves under the salary threshold last year, the tax threshold, so they can restock for the next few years until they have to get under that again. Lots of talk about both Corey Seager and Carlos Correa. Interesting to hear. I listen every now and then to the Michael Kay show, who is the play-by-play caller for the Yankees on the Yes Network, and he does a show on ESPN radio in New York, and lots of callers calling in saying, "No, we don't want Correa. He was all part of the Houston Astros and blah blah blah. We don't want him." And Michael Kay's answer always is, "So how did you feel about Roger Clemens pitching for the New York Yankees?" "Oh, that's different."
Oh God.
Well,
I think
not.
I think once they're in pinstripes and hits the first home run, everyone forgets.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Who would you rather have though?
I would rather have Corey Seager.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, and there's lots of talk that he's right in the middle of a bidding war between the Yankees and the Dodgers, who obviously want to keep him. But Dodgers do have a backup plan in the fact that Trey Turner, who they acquired from the Nationals at the trade deadline, his main position is shortstop. He was playing second base for the Dodgers purely because Corey Seager held that spot. Corey Seager, left-handed hitter. Left-handed hitters go well at Yankee Stadium with the short right field porch.
He had a bit of a slump this year, though, didn't he?
He's still at 300. Which,
I know. He's an all-star. He's a great hitter.
Only there's only 15 hitters hit above 300 this season.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, really, when you consider superstars in baseball fail 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah, it's incredible, eh? It's because all the pitchers are cheating.
Yeah, exactly.
The pitchers are rubbing stuff on the ball all the time.
Yeah. The other thing with Corey Seager is he is ready-made to move over to third base should one of the Yankees' hot prospects at shortstop come through in the next 2 or 3 years. So he is the obvious one. Look, if Carlos Correa ends up in pinstripes,
you're not going to complain, are you?
Be a happy lad.
He's a great player, man. I mean,
yeah.
I think any team would have him.
Semi and Trevor Story. The Yankees apparently were big on Story at the trade deadline, but couldn't get him. He's a home run hitter, this boy, but also a very good shortstop. So, but they seem to have gone cold on him, really focusing on Sega and Correa. Tampa Bay outfielder Randy Arozarena wins the AL Rookie of the Year, while Cincinnati Reds' Jonathan India wins the NL Award. Tampa's Kevin Cash won the AL Manager of the Year. He did a fantastic job.
He did.
Second year in a row he's won it, which is not out of the... There's no surprise to that, the way that Tampa Bay with their $70 million payroll compared to the Yankees and Dodgers' $200 million payroll.
Yeah.
Just incredible. And San Francisco's Gabe Kapler. They were not expected to be anywhere near the playoffs. It was going to be the Dodgers and the Padres in that West.
They were expected to come last, I think.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Even behind the Diamondbacks, who ended up winning over 100 games.
Yeah.
And the pitching awards, Toronto pitcher Robbie Ray won the AL Cy Young Award for Best Pitcher, and Corbin Burns from Milwaukee wins the NL Award. The MVPs are announced today.
Okay.
I think the American League is pretty much done and dusted with Mr. Ohtani. Win that. The other two finalists are both Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Marcus Semien. I think, I think Shohei Ohtani is going to win that one.
Bolton.
In the National League, you've got Bryce Harper, Juan Soto from the Nationals, and Fernando Tatis Jr. So I think it'll be close between Soto and Tatis. I think you'll find Bryce Harper will probably finish third. Interesting that all 6 finalists for the MVP, none of them played in the playoffs.
That's so interesting, eh? That's often a thing in baseball as well. You can often have 2 or 3 absolute superstars in your team, but your team still doesn't go great. I mean, interesting about those Cy Young winners, man. I mean, because I've watched quite a bit of baseball this year. I've seen some bloody good pitchers. I don't think I've ever seen either of those two throw. Robbie Ray and Corbin Burns.
Yeah, well, Robbie Ray was actually first in every major category.
Wow. I just obviously never watched a game where he was throwing. I did see
wins.
Yeah, I did see Toronto play. Yeah. So just obviously he was never throwing. And what about Corbin Burns?
Yeah, he's had an outstanding year. He's a young pitcher. I think he only won about 13 or 14 games, but his ERA and walks and hits per innings were just outstanding. So, but I mean, he finished ahead of Max Scherzer, which is
saying something. Yeah,
a big thing in that. So, yeah, interesting.
Right. So you'll cover off the MVP awards next week, obviously.
I certainly will.
All right, and other stuff, mate. Should we go to other stuff? You got anything more in baseball? Okay, other stuff. Lydia Ko has been on fire in the LPGA Tour over the last few weeks and looks set to claim the prestigious Vare Trophy, awarded to the player with the lowest scoring average across the whole year. And she leads quite easily ahead of the week's final round of the year of the tour. The CME Group Tour Championship in Florida over the last month. The 24-year-old has won the Saudi Ladies International and last weekend finished runner-up after a 4-way playoff at the LPGA Women's Tour Championship in Florida. So Lydia Ko has had a tough few years of it. Seems like she's got a new coach, and finally she's making some traction in the LPGA there. Good for her.
Right. Another name we haven't heard of for a while, Stephen Elka, appears to have settled into life on the Champions Seniors Tour. Elka finished runner-up to former Masters winner Phil Mickelson in the season-ending Charles Schwab Cup Championship in Arizona. Two birdies in the final 2 holes earned him second spot and a payday of $355,000.
How good is that, man? I still remember Stephen Elka hitting in that putt for the Eisenhower Cup, wasn't it? It was the Eisenhower Cup for amateur golf way back in 1992 with who else was in that team? Philip Tartarangi, Stephen
Michael
Elker,
Campbell,
Michael Campbell. Exactly. So for him to be doing so well on the Masters Tour after obviously he didn't have the greatest tour as a professional, I just think that's great. I think that's so cool about golf, the way that you can have your sort of, your third act, can't you? So good on Stephen Elker. Well done.
Sad news this week. Looks like we won't be seeing much of Roger Federer on court for the next while after recent knee surgery. And the Swiss master thinks it will be very unlikely that he is back in time for Wimbledon in July. So the big question is, have we seen the last of who some believe the best player to ever grace a tennis court?
I hope not. He still made the quarterfinals as a close to 40-year-old. I reckon he could still probably pick up. I think if we do, we're obviously not going to see the same Roger Federer. The way he just used to float around the court, obviously he was just so graceful as a player and graceful off the court as well compared to some of the other players that we won't mention. The current world number one, who's a little bit of not the same sort of class as what Roger Federer had.
Character, does he?
No, the character.
No.
Okay, so it's time for our hot air best bet of the week, Macca. I want to pick up some money this week.
Yep.
Have you got a value bet for me?
Yep. Put some money on France to beat the All Blacks. $2.70.
$2.70 head to head. France to beat the All Blacks.
$2.70 head to head. France to beat the All Blacks. I don't know if they will, but
that's good value.
The way they played at the weekend,
definitely good value. No, I'd say that's a great value bet, mate. Well done. $2.70. You heard it here first. You won't hear it on any other Kiwi podcast. France will beat the All Blacks. Okay, Mike, good week, bad week. Good week for All Whites coach Danny Hay. A 2-0 win against Gambia was the perfect way to cap off the year, which finished with 3 wins on the trot. 4 if you include a win over Algeria, and followed the history-making effort by the Hay-coached under-23 team in qualifying for the quarterfinals at the Olympic Games for the first time. Toast yourself this summer, Danny, over a job well done. Hasn't he done well as coach?
Yeah, great result against the Gambia, of course, who have just qualified for the African Nations Cup.
They have.
For the first time ever. So
they're not a bad side.
Doing all right. They're not a bad side. So, yeah, Danny Hay, well done. Great week.
Absolutely. And who would have thought?
A bad week?
Who would have thought? Good week for our All Whites, bad week for our All Blacks, eh? Bad week for Ian Foster. The All Blacks were exposed badly against Ireland last weekend. There are some major fault lines in this team, and they've been widened further by poor coaching decisions in my books. They must get it right against France, or Foster has to go. He's showing the door.
Yep. Got to agree with you on that one.
Thank you, mate. Yep. Well, there you go. That's another Hot Air Sports podcast. Done and dusted. We're nearly out of lockdown. Hang in there, people. Hang in there. Get vaccinated.
Quite right. We'll be back next week with another edition. Make sure you hit us up with a like or a comment on Facebook. Get on, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also have a listen on Spotify to the Hot Air Sports Podcast, the preeminent sports podcast in Greytown in Auckland.
Love your work, mate. Until then.